Hello, everybody. Today I want to give a quick review of, we'll see how quick it is, of The Great. Um, so, The Great is somewhat of a satirical, um, like kind of period drama, heavy on satirical, and very loosely based on real events. But with that being said, I kind of like this take on like period dramas that are based on historical figures because I feel like a lot of the time, anyways, a lot of the stuff that tries to come off as like, you know, a little more serious, I suppose. When you actually get down to it and read stuff about these historical figures, there wasn't that much known about them, or they just go based off of like rumors or stuff the historians have said that really isn't always accurate, and like they didn't know because they weren't there and they didn't have actual, like, when you see the sources they're getting this stuff from, it's just like, okay. So with that being said, let's get into this season of The Great because I didn't even think this would be renewed for 3 seasons. And I'm so happy that it was. And I just want to talk about like the cast and the plot of this season and why I think this is kind of like the best season because everybody just got to be like as ridiculous as they wanted to be and everybody was super comfortable this season. And yeah, I feel like I kind of enjoyed all of the characters this season as well. New characters, old characters. Yeah, let's get into it. And I love the way they handled like a lot of things that needed to be handled basically. So, what do I want to talk about first? I want to talk about the characters. I want to talk about the plot. Traditionally, I go into the characters and the cast, and that's just so I don't forget anything. But I guess I'll just start by talking about the plot this season, even though I did watch it like a hot minute ago. I meant to make this video way earlier than I did, but I just was like, had too much work to do. So, I guess I'll start off by saying, going into this season, I was just kind of like, I do enjoy Nicholas Hoult and Elle Fanning's chemistry, as does everybody else, and I think they are really such great leads. And like I said, they have chemistry because you can have like two attractive people and good actors on screen, and they just don't have chemistry. And I just feel like they really have chemistry. And I was reading in an interview how they were saying that they don't even try to like have chemistry; they're just trying to outact each other. And I think that's so funny because it is like an enemies to lover kind of thing, like consistently. So that the fact that they said that is like they literally are their characters. Yeah, I think they work so well together. But with that being said, we all know that Catherine the Great, like, Peter dies, basically. Like, she takes over and he dies, or he's killed. So I was like, as much as I enjoy their chemistry, at some point we have to address the elephant in the room, and he has to go. And then prior to me, actually in the middle of me finishing this season, I saw the news that Nicholas Hoult was in talks to be like Lex Luthor in James Gunn's new DC universe. So I was like, huh, okay. I was like, we're definitely gonna get his death in this season because there's no way this is gonna work out where he's. Well, I guess it could, but like, I feel like when you do superhero movies, they really want you to be so dedicated to the movies, and they take like a while to film. I was like, this is just gonna mess up everything for the next season. And then, there's like a whole writer's strike going on right now, so who even knows what's going on with television and movies? Pay your writers. Like, this is so ridiculous. Pay them a living wage and then some. Like, more and then some, because they need to be able to not have to work like 2 other jobs so they can focus on the art itself and make quality content. Pay your darn writers, and no, you cannot use AI to make scripts, okay? It's really obvious, and it's just like, stop it, stop being trash, and just like pay your writers. I don't understand why this is still a conversation. But anyways, I digress. So yeah, we go into the season, and also like Peter still being alive is kind of like controversial to the figure that Catherine is really supposed to be. You know what I mean? And she can't really make this change or be this strong female character as long as he's alive. And I don't think that's like the case in general, but like for this specific story arc, it was. So, and you kind of see her friend Miriam, who I have a love hate relationship with. Last season, she was making me so mad, but I feel like this season, the way they tied her character together, it really helped me like come to terms with all of the things that she's done in the past that were kind of like, you know, not really in Catherine's favor. But yeah, I feel like every character is somewhat redeemed in this season. I still hate is it Georgina or something? I hate her so much. Like, she really makes me mad, but she's hilarious, but she makes me mad. But women's stories matter. They matter. And, you know, women are allowed to have fun, too. And no matter how annoying any woman on this show is, literally nobody's as bad as Peter. And he does get redeemed a little bit, and he does have, like, he does evolve as a character. But you still see, like, these little instances of him just kind of being, like, okay, Peter, it's time for you to go. So, with that being said, I don't even know how to start this off. I guess we start the season off with, like, Catherine and Peter kind of quarreling over how she's trying to basically change Russia and how he wants to keep a lot of traditions. They do somewhat compromise, but we all know that the change needs to happen, and a lot of these traditions are just like dangerous and outdated and unnecessary and like patriarchal. So, you know, work needs to get done. And that's basically how the season starts off. And we just see their love kind of go through all of these tests and stuff, but they still love each other, so that's like cute. And yeah, that's basically like the first half of the season, and like all of these other things happen, and they kind of, you can tell that they just can't really get resolved so long as Peter is alive, and Catherine has to really find her own voice. And Miriam keeps reminding her of this. She's like, when you first came here, you said you were going to do all of these things, and then you fell in love with Peter, and then you kind of like backtracked on all of this. And she's right. Like, she is that voice that, like, sometimes even though she's annoying and you just kind of like want Catherine to be able to make her own choices, at the end of the day, Catherine did come in saying she was going to change stuff. She really didn't like Peter. Let's not forget Peter tried to literally drown her. I mean, she did try to stab him, but that was like after the fact. But Miriam's right, and she doesn't like Peter, and she's really adamant about not liking him. And even though, you know, she gets invited to dinners and they like play tennis or whatever together, badminton, I don't know, she's still like, I do not like him. And she still like speaks up for herself. And you have to remember that she basically had all of her money taken away. I can't remember everything, but she was like a servant at some point, and she was just kind of like, y'all are up here chilling in your castles and your big beds and with all your luxury, and all of my status was taken from me. And even though her situation still wasn't as bad as like the common people, she was, you know, she was going through it. And Catherine was just out here like, you know, playing enemies to lovers with Peter when he's kind of really a very controversial individual. So, and the fact that like what she tries to represent for Russia, Catherine, it just does not make sense, because Peter represents the complete opposite of that. So it's like, how are you dating this person when you're saying all of these other things? And I think that's such a huge commentary, and it kind of reminds me even of like, might be controversial, but it reminds me even of like Taylor Swift dating the guy from that band, where I don't really want to say that Taylor Swift's like a feminist per se, but she has made some statements that align with, you know, Western feminist ideals. And for her to, and she, in the past, she's also tried to kind of become more inclusive with her feminism. At least, like, her public actions show that. But then her kind of dating him left a lot of fans questioning her values and what she really, you know, stands for. So I feel like that this kind of mirrors that in a sense, and I do understand that a lot of the times during this time, like, women didn't have a choice, but in this instance, it's like Catherine kind of does have a choice here, and she was supposed to kill him, and although she feels really bad about it and she loves him, Peter kind of has to go. So yeah, that's basically like the first half of the season. And then this is going to be spoilers, so I don't know if you guys kind of figured that. All my videos talking about anything is spoiler, okay? I'm a yapper. Like, I can't not spoil things. Towards the end of the season, I mean, not even the end, like the mid-season, Peter dies, and that completely shifts so much for so many characters, and I think ultimately for the good. We see his aunt start to align more with Catherine because, let's be honest, she was on Peter's side 100%, and I get it, like, that's her nephew, but she was trying to not pretend, I think she does have a soft spot for Catherine, but, like, she is also ruthless, and that was her blood, and she was going to defend him to her last breath, and his last breath, and him dying kind of aligns her more with Catherine a little bit. I mean, at one point, she does kind of have to, like, show tough love for Catherine, but, which helps her, like, mourn him a little bit. But she's still kind of, like, weird to me because she's always trying to, like, walk in on Catherine and, like, watch her during times where she's trying to be, like, intimate. I think that's, like, so bizarre. Yeah, anyways, that's another thing. But, yeah, everybody's characters change for the better, and Peter literally has to die, and I love how the show handled it. So, let me get into the cast, because I feel like it's going to be so much easier for me at this point. We can start with Catherine. Like, why not? So, basically, Catherine's character goes through a whole thing where she's, like, really in love in the beginning of the season, but she's still trying to, like, make these changes to Russia. And then, ultimately, Peter dies, and then she really has to make these changes to Russia, but she gets so much pushback from the common people and also the lords and the aristocrats. So it's really interesting to watch that happen and see her see how much people really do not care for her, which makes sense because anybody who's going to enact change is going to be hated, especially during that time. Even now, people who try to enact change, like, it's a lot of work and you're going to get a lot of hate. And back then, they could just pull up to your house or your castle and just, like, you know, be done. End your life, you know? So it was really interesting watching her go through all of these things. It was tough at times to watch her be hated. And it's really unfortunate because sometimes you're like, okay, she has to learn this lesson, and I feel like she's being naive or whatever at times. But then you always remember what Peter has done and did, and you're like, and he's still loved. But I think that's the whole point, is that, you know, male rulers were allowed to kind of be terrible, where female rulers could literally be perfect, do everything that society would want them to do, and still get critiqued. So that's basically the journey we see her go through, and it's hard because I do think Catherine has good intentions. So yeah, it's great. You even see, like, her advisors go against her, the head of her army go against her, and just, like, not really take her seriously. And it's really unfortunate because she does have really good ideas, and some of her ideas may not be the best. Like, when she tried to, not the best, but, like, when she basically made it so people can get divorced, it wasn't that it was a bad idea. It was just that she needed to sort out the specifics of it. And yeah, she needed to sort out the stuff, and with that happening, she was able to do that because obviously prior to it, you can't tell that, oh, all these people are going to be taking advantage of this system and basically getting married and divorced over and over and over again. So then she made some changes. She stood her ground and she made some changes, and that's how change happens. And unfortunately, a lot of things usually go wrong when change happens, but she still stood her ground, and I really appreciated that. And I loved watching her mourn Peter's death. I mean, it was difficult, but in the end, I don't really think she's done mourning it, but she kind of like, she gets her little short haircut, and she's seems like next season she's going to be ready to really be serious about things and have that ruthlessness that is needed to be a ruler, because you can't just be like, oh, sunshine and rainbows and blah 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 all day. Even though Peter was kind of a butt sometimes, like people listened to him because he did have that edge to him. You know what I mean? You need that. So, Catherine, you're doing great, sweetie. Like, you will always be famous. Elle Fanning did a great job portraying her. I think this is the best season of her acting. She's such a great actress. It would be great to see this show nominated for an Emmy, but it most likely will not happen because the Academy is like so far up HBO's ass that it just doesn't give other shows a chance to even shine for a second, which is really unfortunate because I feel like in the last 2 years we've gotten a lot of great television, but they just don't get recognized. So that's really unfortunate, but it is what it is. She's also a producer on the show, which is really great. You guys should watch her table talk with the actors talk that she does. And she's just a really well-rounded, level-headed young girl and young woman. But yeah, it's just really awesome to see her do her thing. And I'd love to see her on the big screen at some point as well. I love The Great, but I want to see her do more movies in the future. Nicholas Hoult is just like at an all-time high of being a butthole in this season, and it's so funny and it's so great, and I love watching him, and I can't wait to see him as Lex Luthor because he's going to be so amazingly, fantastically evil. And yeah, he's just so great as Peter that it makes you not hate him. Like, you can't help but laugh and giggle. And yeah, that's really like all I have to say about him. It was kind of like, even though I was like, Peter needs to go, at the same time I was just like, I'm kind of sad that he's gone because he was literally so funny and he was a huge part of the show and a lot of the energy on the show. So you still get to see him as his little twin or whatever, the guy that looks like him, like the doppelganger, and he's literally hilarious as him as well. Whoever knew that Nicholas Hoult could be this funny? But you know what? The Skins cast, y'all will always be famous. Like, seriously. Everyone from that show is just doing so well now. So, yeah, that show was so iconic. I used to love that show. I remember when they made the US version and it wasn't as good, but I still ate it up because I literally had an underdeveloped brain. And it got canceled. And I actually had a friend that like wrote to MTV because the show got canceled. Like, so unserious. But anyways, yeah, love Nicholas Hoult in this. It's sad to see him go. I'm sure he'll come back as the doppelganger. Wait, did they kill him? Or I can't remember if they killed him. They did at the end. Catherine did what she needed to do. Yeah, she did. So we probably won't see him. Maybe we'll get him in a flashback. And I love to see the trauma that his father put on him, because I do believe that is accurate to who he was in real life. He was a very, like, he had a lot of issues, and his father was really abusive towards him. And yeah, it was just really interesting to see all of that on screen and see Jason Isaac play his father, which was really awesome. But yeah, I just love how everything was done this season. Like, this was a perfect season, and every character was literally fleshed out. Even the bad characters, per se, you're given a different perspective on them, and I really appreciate that. And it makes them not necessarily nuanced, but, like, it just gives you, like I said, more information and insight on why they are the way they are. I like how he supports Catherine, but he still tries to hold his ground. Sometimes. He made me mad at times, but overall, he was really supportive of her, and he ultimately sees how and why some traditions needed to be changed, and he figures out that he doesn't really want to be a ruler. And yeah, so love that. Mariel. Did I call her Miriam at first? I think I did. Mariel, I was really on the fence about her character, and she made me so mad in the previous seasons, and I was like, she is unforgivable, blah, blah, blah. But this season, I really feel as though they do a lot more to, like, give us more perspective on what she's going through and why she feels the way she feels. And I think it's just because I'm so protective of Catherine, because I love Elle Fanning. But she's like literally made several points this season, and she ends up being Catherine's advisor at the end of the season. And I think that's really smart because everybody else that was around her was just not for her interests. And not only is Mariel has her best interests in mind, she's also not afraid to like tell Catherine things the way that it is. Basically, everybody else was just like sneaking around her back, trying to get things done, and just caused so many problems, and it made so many like dangerous situations that could have been avoided. And Mariel will just straight up be like, "Look, you need to do this. You need to not do this, whatever." But I'm really glad that they ended up, like, I liked watching their friendship kind of come back together this season. And at times I was kind of upset because I was like, Catherine, how can you forgive Peter so easily, but then you're like putting Mariel in the doghouse? Like, that didn't make sense to me. The season literally started off with her about to die, Georgina about to die. It was crazy. But it was the way it was. She was just ultimately, I think she was just like hurt by what she felt like was a betrayal, which she kind of did betray her, but I like to see them get back together. That was really cute. Give me one moment, I have to grab a package. Okay, I'm back. I had to grab some slippers from Amazon. Anyways, yeah, so I really liked seeing that. I do still think Mariel's like a little bit sneaky from time to time, but I think it keeps her character interesting, and ultimately I think when she does hide things from Catherine, it's because Catherine just like wouldn't really know how to handle them. Especially, she's for the common people somewhat. She's still like a lady, and she was like raised that way, even though you do see that there are certain things, she has like certain obstacles that she has to face that Catherine doesn't have to deal with. But you know, it is what it is. And I like that she takes her to like into the town and like shows her a bunch of stuff. And I just think they're going to be really great in season 4, and they're going to work together very well. They're going to butt heads, but I think that it's better for them to be open with each other and butt heads than like people going behind her back. Because like I said, Peter's aunt did not really have her best interest in mind. She was literally trying to get her child baptized behind her back. And she would do anything for Peter in a heartbeat, no matter what Catherine said. The guy in charge of her army, he was literally like going through it this season. I felt really bad for him, but at the end of the day, he was not taking her seriously. And she already has so much to deal with, in the fact people do not take her seriously. So that was getting on my nerves. The second guy that was in charge of her army, he was trying to like duel, and she was like, don't do this. And he was like, okay, that's cute, but I'm gonna go outside and like duel. And she had to go out there, and she basically shot him in the leg and was like, okay, see you tomorrow. And he was like, okay. So yeah, I think Mariel being her advisor is the best decision right now. Now, she was married to this young kid named Maxim, and he was literally so funny. Like, he cracked me up. He was the second funniest after Peter this season. He was so funny, and I know he got sent away at the end of the season, but he was hilarious, and he had a good eye for fashion, and yeah, I don't know. Maxim was so funny to me, and I love how he was just like always in the story doing something. Um, yeah. Next character, Georgina. I do not like her. She gets on my nerves, but that is the point of her character. So she's doing a great job. It was weird this season because she really played this, gave you this facade that she was changed and she was totally for women's rights, and she really isn't. Um she really is not. She was just trying to get with Peter at like, she does not care about anybody but herself and Peter. And I don't even know if she genuinely cares about Peter, if she cares about like the power that he gives her. I do think she like loved him to whatever extent, to the best of her ability, but she's a very selfish person, and she always has like some other motives in mind. You just don't always know what they are. Yeah, she's just very selfish and sneaky. And the fact that she was trying to get with Peter, then get back with her husband, and she was trying to marry Peter's child, it's like, baby, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. You just can't. And I can't remember what happens with her at the end of this season, but I'm surprised Catherine doesn't like behead her or something, because she was really violent and moving against Catherine the entire season and trying to be slick about it. And it was really strange when basically Peter had died and she found out. And she was, I don't know, the way she was moving about it, I was just like, it's very clear that Catherine is mourning his death, right? And that he didn't die. Because Gregor, I mean, she didn't kill him or whatever. Like, she was just trying to make it seem like Catherine was being like evil spirited, and it's like, that's you, Georgina. That's literally you. And she like drugged him and locked him in the room and started spreading rumors. Like, she's so weird. I need her away from court. Like, she needs to be far, far away. That's all I have to say. But she did a great job this season with her acting, because I really did not like her. Archie, he got on my nerves, but he was very entertaining this season. It was fun watching his chemistry with the doppelganger. Nicholas Holt, like, what? Whoever knew, but you know what? Whatever. But I ultimately like Archie as a character, and I like to see his story arc as well. So, it is what it is. He annoys me when he's literally going behind Catherine's back any chance that he gets. But, yeah, she dealt with that at the end of the day. She dealt with it. He's no longer alive. Orlo died. Catherine, like, shot him, and we just kind of never really addressed that. Like, I don't recall them addressing it. So maybe next season they'll get back to it. King Hugo, he was so funny. He was so funny. I loved his character. I hope we see him next season. He always had something interesting to do. Like, there's every side character, and there's multiple of them. You can almost call this like an ensemble cast. Everyone had a nice little story arc this season. Now, did all the characters get better and evolve? No. But the important ones did. And Hugo, he was just so funny to me. Like, I don't know. He was just always scheming, and I think it's so funny. It's realistic to that time period, because people were not loyal to each other, and everyone was just like clawing and trying to get power or money any way they possibly could. And it's so crazy because it could be snatched away from you just as quickly. So I enjoyed his character and his cousin or sister or whatever. And I mean, ultimately he's basically like the reason Peter dies, because he convinces him to go and try to help him take back his throne. But we won't get into that. It was really funny watching him and Gregor fight over Peter's attention. I was just like, y'all are grown. But Gregor was clearly in love with Peter. I mean, yeah. Then we have Jason Isaac as Peter the Great, the first. And he was good. He was in it for a really short amount of time, but he was good. And yeah, there's not really much to say about it. He was just there. He didn't really affect too much, but yeah. Agnes, I believe that was, who was that? Was that the one guy's wife? I think so. I think she was annoying because she was trying to sleep with the doppelganger the whole time, and I was just like, stand up. Anyways, she didn't really do all too much this season. So yeah. We already talked about Orlo literally dying, which is unfortunate because I was actually mad about that because it was once again like, Catherine, sweetie, we have all these other people conspiring against you, and you're gonna kill Orlo. Okay, whatever. Like, she would really misdirect her anger sometimes. Like, she was really bad at sometimes, but it would be for the wrong people. And I was just like, okay, cool, whatever. That's why I was like, Mariel, get her one more time for me. Mm-hmm. Gregor was just down bad this whole season. Poor Gregor. Like, I don't think he did anything bad really this season. Other than literally blurt out the fact that Peter died 2 seconds after Catherine said, "Can you please not do this?" Now imagine if that had been Peter. They wouldn't have said nothing. None of them were loyal to Catherine, and that was like so annoying to watch and really frustrating, but it was the way it was. Like I said, it makes sense and it was accurate to the time period. Um I felt bad for him because Georgina is like really manipulative and he does not love her anymore and he is not in love with her anymore, and she was just trying to like keep him tied to her even in their marriage when divorce was legal, and I just felt really bad about that. So yeah, literally free my man's. He doesn't really do anything bad per se, like I said. So yeah, I can't wait to see what his character does next season. He'll be with Mariel, I guess. We'll see how they work out. At the end of the season, he kind of realized that he does have this, unconditional love for Peter, even after his death, and it was getting in the way of all of his relationships, including a relationship with Mariel, which he claimed to love her. So, in order for them to proceed in their relationship, he needed to, like, really let go of that. And I don't really think he has 100%. We'll see, because actions speak louder than words. Grigory Petrov. I thought him and Catherine was going to get together, and I really wanted them to. I hope they do next season. I'm a Catherine and Petrov stan. I don't know, like, I just see the vision. I don't know if you guys do, but I do. And, he was interesting, because he was just kind of, like, really rational at times, except the time when, like, he wanted to shoot that one guy, the astrologist, or whatever. But other than that, he basically listened to Catherine. He took over for the, Pugachev? Is that the first guy? I can't remember. But he was chill for real. Like, I don't know. He made sense, like, a lot of the time. So I was like, I like this new addition to the cast. Katya, she made me mad when she made that play. I was like, Catherine, I'm glad that she could laugh at herself, but she's better than me. Because you would have been exiled, something. Because that is not cute. And you know what? At that point, women's stories do not matter. Like, get your little play and get up out of here. Because she was really coming for Catherine. And Georgina, it was all Georgina's fault. And that's why she is the main problem. Other than that, she's not really in the season that much. But yeah, I didn't like that. Voltaire. So he was the astrologist guy, I guess. And him and Catherine getting together, like, I feel like if it had been developed a little more, it would have made sense, because he's like an astrologist, and I feel like Catherine was like, she was reading all of those philosophers, like she loves to read Rene Descartes, and she loves all that kind of stuff, and she literally initially brought him on because he just thinks in a different way, right? So if they had them interact more, like, I would have been more for it. But they just got together so quickly, I was just like, Okay, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. I was waiting for Catherine to have more lovers because in real life she did have multiple lovers. So, yeah, but it wasn't giving me everything. And then the aunt walked in and I was just like, mind your business? Anyways, like I said, I need her to get with Petrov. Mm hmm. Mm hmm. I can't help it. I don't really know if any of the rest of these characters are important. Tatiana, I think she was married to Hugo. Arcady, I felt bad for him, and he needs to leave his wife because she's trash. But also, he needs to leave court because does not have Catherine's best interest in mind. But yeah, that's like more or less all of what happened this season. Can I say what I want to see next season? Not really, because I kind of just go with the flow of this show, and I think what it's doing is great, and I have no expectations going in. I just get along. I'm just like along for the ride, you know. Um, yeah, I don't really. There's nothing that I need to see next season. I'm open to whatever, and that's basically all I have to say about The Great season 3. I really enjoyed this season. Like I said, I think it was the best season so far. And let's hope that they can continue to make this show better. Um, but usually season threes are like really good of shows. But we'll see what happens. I feel like now that Peter's not here, we can either do like really well or, or go down. But I think Elle Fanning is a force to be reckoned with and that she can carry the show by herself. And yeah, I would love to, you know what? I would love to see her sisters next season. I would love to see her sisters come. Yeah. That would be interesting and her have to like deal with the fact that Peter killed her mom, basically. So, yeah. And then of course we'll see more trials and tribulations from the people and the lords and ladies, but there's just so much more that they can do with it. Is she not like the longest, one of the longest monarchs in Russia? I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, I just can't wait to see how every character will be different next season without Peter as well. So with that being said, that is my review of The Great Season 3. Let me know what you guys thought about it. And yeah, subscribe, and comment down below. And I'll see you in my next TV show review. Bye.